Every year, the Game of the Year discussion tries to answer the same question. What defines excellence? Is it scale, creativity, or raw innovation? But this year, the first major list of nominees from the Golden Joysticks doesn't give us one answer, it gives us three. It reveals a battle of philosophies playing out across the industry. On one side, you have the relentless ambition of the AAA world. On the other, the raw creativity of indie development. And then you have a new third space. You have the rising confidence of AA studios, carving out what might be the most exciting space in modern gaming. So in this video, we're going to break down that battle. I'll give you my thoughts on all 12 nominated games, and I'll make my case for which of these three philosophies produced not just the best game on this list, but what I believe is the definitive game of the year. Alright, let's get into the nominees. On one hand, you have the Titans. These are the massive console exclusives from legendary studios. You've got Donkey Kong Bonanza, basically a launch title for the new Switch 2. You have Ghost of Yotei, the PS5 exclusive from Sony's own Sucker Punch Studios. And you have Death Stranding 2, the real auteur title of the three. This is the level of quality you expect from the two biggest players left in the console space, Nintendo and Sony. And yes, I said two. I have a whole video coming soon about why I don't think Xbox is really in that conversation anymore, so make sure you're subscribed for that one. These are the kinds of games that justify their massive budgets by delivering spectacle, mechanics, or a feel that you simply can't get anywhere else, pushing for sales of the platform that they are exclusive to. Take Donkey Kong Bonanza. In an Ask the Developer interview, Nintendo confirmed that Donkey Kong Bonanza is built on a voxel engine. Now, a voxel is essentially a 3D pixel, a tiny building block if you will. When you build a world out of them, you can create any kind of terrain, and then you can make it all destructible. Now, Nintendo obviously didn't invent voxels, but what makes this interesting is how they're using them. They've built a highly polished destruction engine where the world itself is the main mechanic. The puzzles, the platforming, the combat, it all revolves around your ability to tear the environment apart. In a classic Nintendo move, they have managed to make a single mechanic the focus and create an entire polished experience around it. Then you have one of the other big PS5 exclusives, Ghost of Yotei. With this game, Sucker Punch didn't focus on changing the world itself. Instead, they took advantage of the unique capabilities of the DualSense controller to deepen your immersion. This is all layered on top of the beautiful landscapes and incredible graphical fidelity you'd expect from a top-tier Sony studio. You feel everything. The tension of a bowstring tightening in the triggers, the crunch of a snowy path under your feet, or even the subtle pluck of a shamisen strings during the game's quieter moments. It's the kind of detail that doesn't show up in the trailers, but it makes the world feel truly alive in your hands. And while critics were divided on its familiar open world structure, they were almost unanimous in their praise for its artistry. Reviewers have consistently called it one of the most visually stunning games of the generation, with a unique musical score that blends traditional Japanese instruments with the feel of a classic Western. Our third console exclusive is a PS5 game centered on Kojima's distinctive creative style, Death Stranding 2 on the Beach. The first game was a true prestige title for Sony, a game funded more for its artistic vision than its mass market appeal. And while its story was divisive, its gameplay found a dedicated audience over time, making the sequel highly anticipated. With that sequel, Kojima's creative freedom remains a double-edged sword. His wonderfully bizarre worlds are unique, but his writing can be convoluted, sometimes to the detriment of the story. And yet, fans were right to be excited, because the gameplay enhancements are impressive. Instead of just making more of the same, Kojima and his team clearly listened to the criticisms of the first game. They refined core systems, completely reworked the combat and stealth, and added a ton more depth to the world with things like dynamic weather and a greater variety of enemies. The result is a more impressive and well-rounded entry. It shows a creator confident in his vision, but also willing to listen and refine it, creating a sequel that is not just a continuation, but an evolution. And full disclosure, as I don't own a Switch 2 or a PS5, my time with those three console exclusives was limited to short bursts rather than full playthroughs. And yet, not all AAA nominees are console exclusives. These games are meant to be massive entertainment events unto themselves, available to as many people as possible. They usually come from very well-established studios, leverage some sort of iconic IP, or represent advancements in genres that have already been established. Let's start with the hugely popular Kingdom Come: Deliverance II. It's a first-person RPG from Warhorse Studios, set in a historically accurate 15th century Bohemia. The first game was a massive cult hit, famous for its challenging gameplay and dedication to historical realism. That success, which began on Kickstarter, led to the studio being acquired by THQ Nordic. The sequel is now clearly benefiting from the backing of a much larger parent company. This allowed the sequel to be made with a true blockbuster budget, letting the team double down on everything that made the first game great. I played this during a free weekend on Steam, and while the hardcore simulation formula isn't quite my cup of tea, I can absolutely see the appeal. It's a game that essentially asks itself, what if Skyrim aimed for maximum realism and an insane amount of interacting systems? I had a ton of fun with it and will definitely be looking to play more over the holidays. Next up is a prime case of the blockbuster formula, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. You take one of cinema's most iconic characters and put him in the hands of Machine Games, the studio that mastered first-person action with their modern Wolfenstein series. On paper, it's a simple, powerful recipe for success, letting you be Indiana Jones. But unlike their previous work, the focus here isn't on over-the-top gunplay. Instead, the game centers on exploration and puzzle solving across distinct, handcrafted locations. For me, the best moments were when the game just let me get lost in a tomb, following my own curiosity instead of a developer's dictated path. It truly captures the feeling of being a whip-smart archaeologist, not just an action hero. It's a game built on pure, distilled nostalgia and the proven talent of its developer, making it a quintessential multi-platform hit. Our final AAA nominee is Silent Hill F. It represents Konami's first true return to the series since 2012, and their attempt to finally answer for the loss of PT, the legendary horror demo from Kojima and Del Toro that was cancelled. But Konami's creative direction here was surprising. Instead of attaching a famous game director, they brought in Ryukishi 07, an author celebrated for his acclaimed work in the Japanese visual novel scene. Development was handled by the relatively lesser-known studio, Neobards Entertainment. This makes Silent Hill F a unique kind of blockbuster. It's a bet not on a star game developer, but on the raw power of the Silent Hill brand itself, combined with proven narrative talent from a completely different medium. It's a bold and unexpected attempt to resurrect a titan of the horror genre, and its spot on this shortlist proves that the bet may have paid off. So, let's recap the AAA nominees. Donkey Kong Bonanza, Death Stranding 2, Ghost of Yotei, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, Kingdom Come: Deliverance II, and Silent Hill F. 6 massive games. And yet, we have literally only covered half of the list of nominations. Our next subsection of the nominated games are indie titles. Now, an indie game is essentially any game made by a person or a studio that is not owned or controlled by a single large publisher. They have the creative freedom to make what they want, how they want. And while all 4 of the indie nominees this year can be covered by this categorization, they tell 3 completely different stories about success. First, you have the true lightning in a bottle moment, the passion project from a solo developer that came out of nowhere and captured everyone's attention. Next, you have the indie dream team-up. This is where talented developers, known for completely different things, come together out of pure passion to chase a single, brilliant idea. And finally, you have the titans of the indie space, the hugely anticipated sequels to some of the most beloved games of all time, from studios that have become legends in their own right. Let's start at the beginning with that lightning in a bottle moment, Blue Prince. The story around this game reminds you why the indie scene is so vital. Blue Prince was developed almost entirely by one person, Tonda Ross, with help from a sound designer and composer over the course of 8 long years. This game is very unique in the sense that it is the first of its kind that I have ever seen or played. The story and the aim of the game are simple: to get to the mysterious Room 46 in a 45-room mansion that your deceased great-uncle has left for you in his will. The catch? The rooms in the mansion are never the same. You only really know what the next room is once you decide to open a door, and once you do that, you are unable to back down. The rooms available to you have different abilities. Some help you by giving you more steps to keep your adventure going, money to buy items, or keys to unlock new paths. Others give you dice, letting you re-roll your door options. But some rooms will give you negative effects, making it more difficult to get to where you want to go. All rooms, however, can present you with layouts where you might have no path forward, accidentally ending your run. It makes you realize that the mansion itself is the main puzzle, and within its constantly shifting walls are countless smaller secrets to uncover. This forces you to pay attention to everything presented to you, because you never know which detail is the key. The closest thing I can compare it to is a roguelike, but with a twist. The permanent progression comes from the information you gain from solving the different puzzles available during your adventure, almost like the Outer Wilds many years ago. This game earned its spot on the list through pure, undeniable word of mouth, built on the back of its brilliant, mind-bending design and clear passion behind it. From the success story of a lone creator, we now turn to the power of a creative collaboration, the indie dream team-up that is Peak. This is the only PC exclusive on the list, and it was developed by a unique pairing. AgroCrab, the creators of Another Crab's Treasure, and Landfall Games, the minds behind Totally Accurate Battle Simulator. The project started as a game jam submission, an event where developers create a game within a very short timeframe. But after their initial 4-week sprint in February, the two studios realized that they had something special and decided to expand it into a full commercial release. It launched this past June for $5, and its success was immediate and explosive, selling 1 million copies within 6 days of its launch and reaching upwards of 100,000 concurrent players in that same timeframe. Within the month, the sales figures were over 5 million. Think about that. The project started in a game jam in February and became a massive multi-million selling commercial hit by June. That's a turnaround time of, according to the developers, less than 6 months. That kind of rapid viral success has led some people to lump games like this into a cynical new category, friendslop, a term meant to describe cheap, quickly made multiplayer games that are seen as low-effort content. But that label completely misses the point of what Peak is. This isn't low-effort slop. This is the focused result of a passionate collaboration between two talented, proven studios. It's a brilliant idea, executed by experts who combine their unique skills to build something fun, polished, and incredibly addictive. The entire game is built on a simple, powerful foundation: cooperative climbing, emergent physics-based chaos, and short, repeatable sessions. Its nomination serves as a powerful counter-argument that a game doesn't need a decade of development or a 100-hour story to be worthy of a Game of the Year nomination. It just needs to be a fun idea, perfectly executed. While Peak was a sudden explosive success, our final indie nominees represent a different kind of power, the power of legacy. These are the titans of the indie space, the hugely anticipated sequels from legendary studios, Hollow Knight Silksong and Hades 2. They represent the final evolution of indie success, where a studio becomes so beloved that its next project carries the weight and anticipation of a AAA blockbuster. Let's start with Supergiant Games' Hades 2. The first Hades wasn't just a hit, it was a phenomenon. It swept the 2020 award season, winning multiple Game of the Year honors, and is widely considered one of the greatest roguelikes ever made. That success put Supergiant, a studio known for creating distinct standalone games like Bastion and Transistor, in a very unusual position. How do you follow up a game that many consider perfect? Their answer was to break their own rule and create their first ever sequel, but to do it with immense care. They didn't try to reinvent the wheel. Instead, they focused on refining the formula and expanding the world. You see this immediately with the new protagonist, Melino. Where her brother Zagreus fought his way out of the underworld, her quest sends her deeper in to face the Titan Kronos, who has seized her family's realm. The core combat remains the same fast-paced, buttery smooth action that fans love, but it's been smartly remixed. The multi-dash ability is gone, replaced with a more deliberate sprint, and the new magic resource adds a whole new layer of strategy with more powerful Omega attacks. This isn't just more Hades. It's a sequel that examines every system with intent and expands on it thoughtfully. It's a testament to a studio that, even when breaking its own traditions, does so with artistry and respect for its original creation. The result is a confident evolution of a masterpiece that builds on its legacy without being trapped by it. Following up a masterpiece can be daunting, but Supergiant handled it brilliantly. But what happens when that pressure is combined with years of near total silence? You get a level of anticipation that's almost mythical. You get our final indie nominee, Hollow Knight Silksong. Developed in near total silence for over 6 years by the three-man studio Team Cherry, the sequel became a legend in its own right. With each year of silence, the pressure and anticipation grew to mythical levels. Their release was just as unconventional. The game was practically shadow-dropped with an announcement just 2 weeks before launch, letting the public and critics discover the Kingdom of Farloom at the same time. That long silence wasn't due to development troubles. On the contrary, the team explained that the project's scope kept expanding simply because they were having so much fun with it. It's fitting, since Silksong was originally planned as just a DLC for the first game. And while the game is built on the foundation of the Hollow Knight formula, the new mechanics built around its protagonist, Hornet, make the game feel distinct. Hornet's faster, more acrobatic movement changes the rhythm of exploration, while the new tool and crest systems allow for more varied combat styles, adding a fresh coat of paint on a beloved structure. Team Cherry's years of silent work paid off. The result is one of the liveliest Metroidvania maps the genre has seen for years. A stunning achievement that constantly rewards curiosity and serves as a fitting end to our look at the indie titans. So, we've seen the two poles of the industry, the AAA colossus, defined by spectacle and budget, and the indie world, defined by passion and pure creativity. But what happens when you combine the ambition of a blockbuster with the creative freedom of an indie? You get our final category of nominees, the AA game. It's a still emerging space where studios are big enough to deliver stunning production values, but small enough to take bold, creative risks. And the two nominees on this list, Split Fiction and Clair Obscur Expedition 33, are perfect examples of why this space is producing some of the most exciting ideas in gaming today. Let's start with Split Fiction. To understand this game, you have to understand its developer, Hazelight Studios, and its passionate founder, Joseph Fares. This is a studio that thrives on stories built around dual protagonists. Their very first game, Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, had you controlling two characters at once, one with each thumbstick. Since then, Hazelight has been on a mission to revive something the industry largely left behind as online play took over: split-screen couch co-op. Their previous title, It Takes Two, was a massive success, even taking home the Game of the Year award in 2021 at the Game Awards. It was celebrated for its charming story and its innovative co-op design, which constantly gave each player unique abilities that forced them to truly collaborate to progress, rather than both players just running towards the finish line. And Split Fiction is Joseph Fares' clear attempt to take that crown again, but with an even bigger budget and a bolder vision. The production budget is reportedly double that of It Takes Two, and you can see it on screen. The game uses full motion capture for its performances and features far more detailed environments and larger blockbuster-style set pieces. But the most interesting evolution is in the gameplay. While still chasing that emotional intimacy between its characters, Split Fiction wraps it in a new theme: moral duality. The game explores parallel realities, and for the first time in a Hazelight game, it actively encourages conflicting decisions rather than pure cooperation. It introduces branching story moments where your choices can alter scenes and outcomes, giving the narrative real agency and replayability. It's a fascinating twist on their proven formula, using a bigger budget not just for spectacle, but to explore more complex player dynamics. It's the perfect AA success story, a beloved visionary studio taking a huge creative risk, backed by a budget that allows their ambition to be fully realized. But where Split Fiction is the story of an established AA developer sharpening their formula, our final nominee illustrates a different kind of AA success story, a stunning debut. This is the game to watch, the one that came out of nowhere, instantly captured the conversation, and stands as the ultimate proof of concept for the most exciting space in modern gaming. It's the one I believe will not only win at the Golden Joysticks, but will sweep the entire awards season. My game of the year is Clair Obscur Expedition 33. Expedition 33's genius lies not just in its stunning visual polish, but in the clear care poured into its core mechanics. Its story began in 2019 with Guillaume Broche, who left Ubisoft the following year after growing tired of the creative constraints of AAA development. He wanted to build a high-fidelity turn-based RPG, a genre he felt Western studios were neglecting, and he wanted the freedom to do it his way. Broch founded Sandfall Interactive in 2020 and built the studio in a distinctly modern way. He assembled his core team, including his lead writer and composer, by finding talent directly through online communities. Brought on veterans from the AAA space, including from Ubisoft, under a single clear vision. Utilizing modern tools to create breathtaking visuals and storytelling on an indie-sized team and budget. Early momentum came from grants and industry support, including an epic mega grant and French national and regional funding. Eventually, the team partnered with publisher Kepler Interactive, whose developer-friendly co-ownership model gave Sandfall the stability to scale while maintaining creative control. The result is a game with an unmistakable identity. Clair Obscur blends a Belle Epoque fantasy aesthetic with what the studio calls reactive turn-based combat. It blends traditional JRPG-style commands with real-time mechanics such as parries, dodges, and free-aim weak-point targeting, creating a battle system that feels both familiar and completely fresh. Upon release in April 2025, the game earned strong reviews and quickly captured public interest. Critics praised not only its visuals and atmosphere, but also the confidence of its design, the clarity of its world building, the elegance of its combat, and the ambition behind every piece of it. In many ways, Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is the perfect modern AA success story. It is a singular creative vision executed by a mid-sized team empowered to take risks and polished enough to stand shoulder to shoulder with the biggest names in the industry. It proves that the AA space is not just a middle ground between indie and AAA. It is rapidly becoming the most exciting and innovative space in gaming today. So, let's go back to the beginning, the battleground. The battle of philosophies. On one side, you had the AAA philosophy, that excellence is achieved through spectacle and massive budgets. On the other, the indie philosophy, that excellence comes from pure creativity and passion. And as you know, my pick for Game of the Year comes from that third philosophy, the AA space, which proves that excellence can be found by blending blockbuster ambition with creative freedom. But does that mean the other philosophy is lost? Absolutely not. In 2025, for the first time in a long time, it feels like everyone won. This list of nominees proves that we are in a golden age of variety. A year where a Nintendo blockbuster, a solo dev masterpiece, and a breathtaking AA debut can all be in the same conversation is not a bad year for games. It's a fantastic year for gaming. The real winner is us, the players, who get to experience it all. But that's just my take. What do you think? Which philosophy produced the best games this year? Let me know your Game of the Year down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next one.